The rain hammered down like 1,000 accusations as I stepped out of my rental car in Willow Creek, Ohio. The kind of small town where secrets fester under picket fences and everyone knows your business before you do. I'd come back for Aunt Clara's funeral, the woman who'd been more mother to me than my own blood ever bothered to be. After 15 years in the U.S. Navy, specializing in cyber intelligence and data forensics, I'd learned to keep my cool under fire, literal and figurative. But nothing prepared me for the venom in my mother's voice as she spotted me in my dress blues, ribbons gleaming under the gray sky. "Look who's graced us with her presence," Lorraine Voss sneered, loud enough for the cluster of mourners to turn and stare. Too busy playing sailor girl to visit while Clara was alive, but here now to sniff around the inheritance. Her words sliced deep, reopening old wounds I'd bandaged with duty and distance. I bit back the retort, my face a mask of stoic calm honed from years of classified briefings. Inside, though, the hurt twisted like a knife. Useless sailor, she'd called it once, reducing my sacrifices to a joke. I walked past her into the funeral home, the air thick with lilies and unspoken grudges. My cousin Derek stood by the casket, all polished sympathy and calculated poise, his arm around his girlfriend Fiona, who looked like she'd stepped out of a glossy magazine ad for luxury real estate. At 37, Derek was still the golden child in Aunt Clara's eyes, despite his trail of failed ventures and shady deals. He'd always been the one who stayed close, whispering in her ear during her final years, while I was oceans away tracking digital threats. The service dragged on, a haze of prayers and platitudes, until Lorraine stood up mid-eulogy, her voice cutting through the chapel like ice. "My sister was too kind for her own good," she declared, eyes locking on mine, wasting her fortune on strays who abandon her for some worthless Navy gig, thinking they're heroes while the real family picks up the pieces. The room went silent, the sting of her words echoing in my chest. Worthless. After all I'd done, neutralizing cyber attacks that kept folks like her safe in their beds, she'd boiled it down to that. Derek smirked. Just a flicker. But I caught it. That smug triumph that set my instincts blazing. I rose slowly, held his gaze long enough to see the unease creep in, then turned and walked out into the storm. Lorraine's parting shot followed me. That's right. Run away like always. But I wasn't running. In that rain-soaked parking lot, with grief and rage churning inside, I pulled out my encrypted phone. Derek had just shown his cards, and I was done playing nice. The house whispered memories as I unlocked the door later that night, the scent of vanilla candles and aged paper wrapping around me like Aunt Clara's hug. Derek had crowed at the reception about how the place would soon be in the right hands, but probate gave me access as her longtime ward. I wandered the rooms, each one a punch to the gut: the kitchen where she'd taught me to whip up apple pie, insisting even warriors need comfort food, the den where she'd patiently tutored me through high school while Lorraine partied away her responsibilities. In her study, behind a shelf of dusty classics, I found it, an old metal box she'd shown me as a teen, calling it her rainy day safeguard. Inside, faded letters tied with string, a vintage cipher wheel from her days as a World War II code clerk. She'd mentioned it once, humbly, and a flash drive labeled for Amelia, Silent Guard. My pulse raced. Silent Guard? That was Navy intel lingo for data protection protocols. How did my sweet aunt know that? The letters were in her neat handwriting, addressed to me but never mailed. The latest. From 3 months back, dearest Amelia. If this reaches you. My fears were founded. Derek's been pushing papers on me when the meds cloud my thoughts. I'm no pushover. But trust your training. The truth's locked tight, like those riddles we solved together. Love eternal. And see. Betrayal settled in my bones like lead. This wasn't just family squabble, it was calculated predation. Back in my car, I fired up my secure laptop, VPN shielding me like armor. The drive was locked with military-grade encryption AES-256, the kind that would stump most civilians. But I'd cracked tougher in the field. 2 hours later, the files spilled open, bank statements, transfer logs, investment ledgers showing millions I never knew she had. Worse, a slew of recent outflows to Belize accounts. Signatures wobbly but hers. Witnessed by Derek on every one. Medical scans showed a brew of pills, opioids, sedatives that muddled cognition when mixed. Prescribed by Dr. Harlan Brooks, Derek's old golf buddy. Metadata didn't lie. Files originated from Brooks' clinic IP, but traced to a condo in Derek's name. A text buzzed from an unknown. Digging where you don't belong? House cleared by dawn. D. The arrogance fueled my fire. He saw me as the absent sailor. Easy to dismiss. But I'd spent years dismantling digital empires. This was personal war now. And I was armed. I dove deeper that night. The silence of the empty house amplifying my growing fury. Using forensic tools from my Navy kit, I mapped the money trail, subtle siphons disguised as home care bills, donations to phantom charities, fees to ghost firms, all funneled to shells in Delaware, the kind shady operators used to vanish assets. Derek's prints were everywhere. Metadata slips like breadcrumbs. But the real gut punch? A prior will from 4 years ago. Notarized clean. Leaving most to me with a slice for him. Not the one he'd probate filed. Making him king. Rage simmered. Mixed with grief, I'd missed her hints in those last calls. Too wrapped in ops to listen. No more. I copied it all to encrypted backups. Then reached for contacts I'd shelved post-discharge, old Navy intel pals. Treasury enforcers. Folks who owed me from joint tasks. Derek thought silence meant surrender. He was wrong. Old Tom Whitaker's law firm smelled of stale coffee and yellowed files. The kind of place that handled wills for generations in Willow Creek. Tom, Aunt Clara's attorney for 25 years, blinked when I walked in unannounced. Amelia? Derek said you weren't contesting anything. His words hung heavy, confirming my suspicions. We talked in his cluttered office, and when I pressed on the wills, his face tightened. There were updates. The latest. 3 months back. Electronic. Derek brought it. Said Clara was too frail to come in. Fiona Lang notarized it at bedside. Fiona. Derek's slick partner. A corporate lawyer with a knack for loopholes. I leaned in. Show me your system logs. Tom hesitated. But the steel in my voice went out. The upload? Middle of the night. From an IP leaking through a cheap VPN, straight to Derek's address. Document properties buried a gem. Author tag D042, Derek's initials and birth date. Tom's hands shook as he grasped the fraud. If this is forged. It is, I cut in. And it's elder abuse. Wire fraud. But we play smart. File a challenge. Demand originals. Keep him focused here while I hit the flanks. As I left, the weight of betrayal pressed harder. Aunt Clara. Sharp as attack in her prime. Reduced to a mark by her own kin. My phone lit up. Lorraine. Hissing through text. Stay out of family business. Derek's handling it right. Her complicity stung fresh. She'd always favored him. The son who stayed while I ran off to play hero. But hurt fueled resolve. I called an old Navy contact. LT. Commander Elena Ruiz. Now with the Financial Crimes Unit. Need offshore traces, I said. Uploading samples. Make it quiet. While she worked. I unraveled more. Properties flipped to trusts benefiting FL Enterprises. Fiona Lang. Bold as brass. And the meds? Brooks' scripts matched fraud patterns. billing Medicare for ghost visits. This wasn't just theft, it was a syndicate. Derek the Spider at the center. Elena's callback came fast. Her voice taut. Amelia. This ties to a bigger mess. Healthcare scams laundering for offshore syndicates. Brooks flagged for overbilling. Fiona his legal shield twice. We're talking FBI territory. The scale hit like a wave. Derek hadn't just robbed Aunt Clara, he'd weaponized her vulnerability for profit, keeping her fogged while siphoning millions. I filed SARS anonymously through reserve channels, freezing accounts without tipping him. Then Brennan and company called Derek's high-roller lawyers, offering a settlement, hush money. Tell him to check his Belize holdings, I said coolly. Oh, right, he can't. Feds have eyes now. The silence on their end was sweet revenge. But the cost weighed, family shattered. Trust evaporated. Yet the pain drove me. Silence had been my aunt's prison. And I'd break it. The raid unfolded like clockwork. Black vans swarming Whitaker's office, where Derek raged with his suits. I watched from afar, heart pounding as agents cuffed him mid-tirade. Simultaneous hits nabbed Brooks, fleeing his clinic. Fiona mid-deposition. Lorraine called screaming, "What have you done? Our funds frozen. You're cut from Derek's scheme?" I shot back, the betrayal boiling over. She'd taken handouts, blind or complicit. But blood ties twisted my gut. I vouched for her immunity if she flipped, mercy she didn't deserve. But Aunt Clara would have wanted. In debrief, Elena revealed the depth, $6 million laundered. Cartel links via healthcare fronts. Derek's empire crumbled. But the victory tasted bitter, laced with loss. Months later, in the Nashville federal court, I faced him on the stand, shrunken in jumpsuit, eyes hollow. The prosecutor dissected my evidence, forged metas, money trails, sedation logs. Why pursue this? She asked. Because Aunt Clara left clues, trusting I'd see what she couldn't say. Derek stole her clarity, her legacy for greed. His lawyer painted me vengeful. But the jury saw truth. Aunt Clara's hidden video sealed it, frail but fierce. Warning of the fraud. Tears flowed in the room. Derek broke, confessing all, implicating the rest. Sentenced to 40 years. He mouthed sorry as they led him away too late. Outside, Elena clapped my shoulder. You turned pain into justice. But the price? Lorraine disowned me. Willow Creek whispered, traitor. Yet in founding the Clara Voss Elder Shield Fund with recovered millions, aiding dozens, I found purpose. The worthless sailor had silenced the betrayers, but the scars reminded, revenge heals wounds, yet leaves echoes of what family could have been.